what we want to do here actually is, before lunch, we thought we attract more people, but nothing, nothing attracts them. And I thought always that the need for thought, it's higher than the need for food, but it doesn't work this way. Now, as in ancient Athenian symposium that I mentioned, usually the way that it was organized, they were given a theme. The ancient symposium, the theme was Eros. I don't read the symposium because it's for adults. And what is important is that they asked different people from different countries and different city-states and to prepare an intervention. And of course, the first speaker was the chair, the moderator. So the moderator spoke for 5 minutes and introduced the subject. That's what I'm doing here, just I have this idea. So the theme is demographics and politics. It's a very big issue because it relates to many things, and there's an interaction. I made just to see, because usually now the pictures, there's an interaction about some people, they thought they do refugees, and they don't understand that this is demographics, and it's politics at the same time. We need refugees in Europe because we don't have people here. And of course, what are some of the issues? Of course, you can. I challenge you, the 6 speakers that we have, to say something about that, but it's up to them what they say. About the population increase, this is a huge thing. The population decrease is a huge thing in Greece. According to some estimates, by 200 or 2,100, there will be no Greeks around, and many people cheer about that. Which happened once with Sparta, actually. Sparta, when the Romans came, they went to Sparta and they found no Spartans, because they had this policy of not opening up, so nobody left. Population aging, a big thing, because it affects health. Did I say that? No. Population structure and political behavior. Today I was reading an exit poll analysis about the Greeks, that they vote for the European election, that's tomorrow. You will see the difference between age and women. You will be surprised. Some parties, political parties, they have huge statistical difference between men and women and ages. That's very good. And some other issues that I think our speakers will address. Now, what to expect? It's about the demographic transition and the political effects, population difference of rival countries. When we started that, China was the most populated, now it's India, and it has to do, we have many Chinese here. And of course, the growing proportion of young versus old people in some countries, like Turkey, for example, and the rural-urban uneven development, ethnic or religious groups. I don't believe in this thing about the class of civilization. I have Eurologists to support me. Look at the Ukraine-Russian war, for example, they are the same nation. The same is first cousins. And they still think that, So what happened? What was this guy in the last century that he said it's the end of history, something like that, and all the world will now become class of civilization? Yeah, some of them. There are 2 of them. And don't take my chair there, I'm gonna kill you. There are some chairs. I'm kidding. I'll have you in my back. And ethnic and religious groups is very important. And we have mass exodus of population that they come here in Europe, I will here. Now, as a student when I took demography at the undergraduate level, we learned about this Malthusian regime, post-Malthusian regime, modern growth regime. And then, this is a quote from American Economic Review. Nobody questions the validity of American Economic Review. But I have a problem with this technological progress. It says slow rising high. Since these regimes, these regimes can happen at the same time, like some people they face this regime, others they face this now. We have countries with various regimes. But the technological progress now, it can expand very fast. It's called the advantage of backwards. So you cannot really touch technological progress with the regime, because in Greece, for example, I don't know what regime we are, we can benefit from technology developed in China or in Brazil or in the United States. Right away, it spreads. But anyway, per capita income growth That's their the challenge to explain. The subject politics and demography, some people call political demography. So it's another thing, and it draws from all, which is very good for the Athens Institute, because it's social science in general, anthropology, history, geography, just name it. Many papers that are presented throughout the weeks that we organize this small symposium, they have demographic and politics elements without knowing it. Think of the planning, for example. They have demographic regional science. And they are forced to do it, and in all the studies they use in regression analysis, population. Per capita income is population. If you, for example, when we do development economics, if we say, look at the good thing about war, if we kill half of Greeks, per capita income will double. Okay? It's a matter of arithmetic. You see? I'll double, if I'm a dictator, I can double I kill all the old people, can you think, and take their savings as well. I solve the public debt problem. There are some ethical questions, but anyway. And from different countries, here we have Brazil, Czech Republic, India, it just happened. It's not I selected them. Conclusion, political demography is a promising area. It can draw from many disciplines. There are discussion, bring researchers together from different areas. Our first speaker is Domenico Maddaloni. He will be known to the eternity as the head of our sociology unit. He has been with us so many times. We don't like Italians, that's why we keep him here, so we can, they went here 2,000 years ago. Now we're going to become our slaves in the future. 10 minutes to impress the world, Domenico, and of course he's professor in Italian University, I don't remember which, Salerno.
Okay, I know that this first place for me is an attempt for you to get rid of yourself. I will have a little talk about demographics and politics in Italy. Basically, some of you that attended the session this morning already know something about that. Well, anyway, I do not have some slides, but I have a little talk, so I would like to discuss this point. I will start with consideration, more general consideration. Demographic changes have recently become central to the public debate and political landscape in Italy, as well as in many other developed countries. Therefore, I would like to start with some observation that relate to other advanced countries, whose development path has been and still is very different from Italy's. In Japan, there were about 150,000 births and about 250,000 deaths in the first quarter of this year. In South Korea, the fertility rate dropped to about 0.8 children per woman since the beginning of this decade. Both these processes are developing despite the strongly pro-natalist policies implemented by the governments of these countries. Thus, one of the most hotly debated demographic issues in politics in recent years, the problem of demographic decline in the native born population in developed countries, is not just Italian, but is currently affecting many other developed countries in the global north. These facts also give us an initial indication of the role of public policy in demographics. Yes, because well-designed policies, backed by abundant resources, such as those in Japan or South Korea, only sometimes succeed in achieving their goals. This is because demographic problems only sometimes find their goals in themselves. Sometimes they are instead a telltale sign of a much broader social problem which should be addressed by means other than population policy. It has been said that developed countries tend to have a lower fertility rate due to lifestyle choices associated with economic affluence, where mortality rates are low, birth control is easily accessible, and children often can become an economic drain caused by housing, education costs, and other costs involved in bringing up children. Addressing this problem, therefore, would involve questioning some of the economic, social, and cultural foundations of social life in the age of neoliberal globalization, which has now turned the age of crisis of neoliberal globalization, perhaps. This is a fascinating task, but perhaps too vast for the inherent limitations of a small round table like ours. Therefore, I will try not to question the present economic and social order, and I will focus instead on the relationship between demographics and politics in Italy. The first thing to say here is perhaps that the relationship between politics and demographics is not only about population decline, but it's much more complex. For example, in Italy, the focus on population aging and declining birth rates are of great importance. However, the issue of international migration and internal development imbalances and consequent internal mobility are also of great importance. Therefore, I will limit myself to only a few topics. More specific, okay, with Maddaloni is much more skilled talk about demography. More specifically, I will focus on the relationship between native-born population decline, and immigrant population growth, which has given rise to a violent controversy around so-called ethnic replacement. This is also a topic covered in the paper submitted in the conference, of course. To begin with, Italy has one of the oldest populations in Europe, with a share of over 65, over 23%, and a median age of about 47. This places a significant burden on the pension and healthcare systems, and has led to calls for an increase in the retirement age and healthcare reforms. As a matter of fact, I myself will go retired at 70. This decline has so far mainly been offset by the growth of the immigrant population, which now stands at more than 5 million people, about 9% of the resident population. It is important to remember that most foreigners residing in Italy come from countries now members of the European Union, such as Romania, or from other European countries, such as Albania or Ukraine. We should also note that only about 1 million residents in Italy are Muslim, and it is widely known that immigrant workers occupy niches in the labor market that would otherwise remain devoid of labor, creating unsurmountable problems for the business system and families themselves. So-called 3D jobs, dirty, dangerous, and demanding. Unfortunately, it is easy to work on the fears of an aging population that is on average more affluent than the newcomers, as is always the case in the relationship between residents and outsiders. This is also Norbert Elias' lesson. The cultural otherness and somatic differences, therefore, end up becoming objects of political contention. The concept of ethnic substitution, sometimes referred to as ethnic replacement or the Great Replacement, emerges in this context. In Italy, as in other parts of Europe, this concept has gained traction among certain political groups and has significantly influenced political debates, particularly concerning immigration and national identity. Right-wing and populist parties in Italy have leveraged the concept of ethnic substitution to fuel anti-immigration sentiments. They argue that high levels of immigration, particularly from non-European countries, threaten to dilute Italian cultural and ethnic identity. These parties often frame their political campaigns around the need to preserve Italian traditions, language, and social norms, which they claim are at risk due to increasing diversity. They suggest that unchecked immigration could lead to Italians becoming a minority in their own country. In response to fears of ethnic substitution, right-wing parties propose stringent immigration controls, including tougher border security, stricter asylum policies, and reduced legal pathways for immigration. There are also proposals to incentivize higher birth rates among Italians through family support policies, tax incentives for having more children, and other measures aimed at boosting the net population. Here we can find the closing of the causal circle. Demographic change fuels a political controversy that results in proposals and initiatives to influence population dynamics.
Domenico, 2 minutes you have.
Oh, okay. In its most extreme form, the ethnic replacement theory is a conspiracy theory, of course. The concept of ethnic replacement has contributed to the polarization of Italian politics, with stark divides between those who support stringent immigration controls and those who advocate for a most inclusive approach. Increased focus on ethnic substitution has heightened social tension, leading to a rise of xenophobic attitudes and instances of racism. Still, individual elements of it are often shared by members of different parties in an attempt to ingratiate themselves with the electorate most frightened by the ongoing social and political change. It is not the case here to point at the weakness of ethnic substitution theory and the undesirable, sometimes perverse effect that its actual application might unleash. For instance, do we really want women back at home? This would be a consequence of such a policy. From the standpoint of political research, perhaps the most interesting aspect of this phenomenon lies in its effect in different categories and groups of the population, highlighting the partial return to class politics. The political clash between the so-called social right and the so-called ZTL left, that is the left of intellectuals and professionals living in affluent traffic-restricted neighborhoods. ZTL means zona traffico limitato, limited traffic zone. Actually, it finds here one of the most important terrains in which to manifest itself precisely in the politics of immigration and the family, and thus in the controversy over ethnic substitution. 1 minute more?
No, it's over, that's all.
Okay. Thank you.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And discussion at the end, and I forgot to say that those that they will intervene will mention their name. Okay, so we have done that in the past, so we know who intervened. Our next speaker is Professor Renato Flores, because we have so many other things, and he will talk something, I guess, about Italian from Brazil. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, my point is very simple. The title of this intervention is "Something is Rotten in International Organization." And the point is really very simple. Most international organizations and fora are led by countries which, allow me to be a bit dramatic, are disappearing, while countries which are in full life or which have a bright future are usually outside these organizations. Well, if I have a country which is beyond the demographic transition, which is shrinking, its social economic needs are completely different from a country that's increasing in population or which has, let us say, a healthy age pyramid. If you are an old shrinking country, you are worried with health systems, pension systems. The technologies you need are completely different from the technologies a young developing country needs. So socio-economically, it's completely different. Strategically, it's also different. If you are an old country, for instance, your army is reduced. If you are a highly populated country which is growing, you can have a very huge army. And despite all the drones and new weapons, the size of the army is important. You can have different geopolitical interests depending on the future of your country. So that's the point. We need to be more, we need more equanimity in terms of demography in international organizations. I end up with an example, a very nice example with the G20, which, as you all know, is made up of 19 countries. The 20th country is a mystic entity like the Holy Ghost or Lord Ganesh, which is the European Union. As far as I know, it's not a country. Well, out of the 19 countries of the G20, 10 are shrinking. Some, out of these 10 which are shrinking, 5 are in really serious situation. My friend from Salerno, yeah, he mentioned South Korea, he mentioned Japan, but there is also Germany. Germany has been shrinking. So you have 10 countries with a very precise set of needs. We still have 9. Of these 9, we have 5, let us say, young countries, like India, Indonesia, and we have 4 countries which are already in transition, moving to the group of 10 countries. And what about the future, the continent of the future, which is Africa? Only South Africa is there. And Africa is going to be the most dense continent in the future. No voice at all. The African problems are absent of the G20. We were very euphoric about the G20 in the Global South, because in 22 it was in Indonesia, last year our Asian friends, this year Brazil, and next year South Africa. Well, we are all members of G20, but G20, better, G19 is not representative. And the same applies, you can do this exercise in nearly all international organizations. So we need a new dimension of democracy, which is demographic democracy, so that the young countries with different needs, different problems, they need jobs, they need education. Japan doesn't need education anymore. Of course, they have very good universities, they have to educate, but educational problem in Japan is completely different from the educational problem in Nigeria. So that's my point. Thank you very much.
You are excellent. Broke all the records of the ancient Athenian symposium. You spoke only for 5 minutes. Excellent. You actually will learn a lot from your presentation. Our next speaker is from United States, that is not a country because it's 52 states by definition. And Sonia Salari, she's gonna impress us for 9 minutes from the University of Utah. We had other professors, and a good friend of mine from the University of Utah, Patricia Hanna, she was the dean there of the philosophy. Anyway, now, 9 minutes to impress the world.
Yeah, this one is talking about the demographics of age and aging, and it's in the United States. And so I'm a gerontologist and also interested in politics and family studies and that sort of thing. And so in gerontology, we have the question about, whether there is an age war, and there's thought to be, things that keep us from doing that. Although I would say, like, more recently, it seems like it could head in that direction. So just what are the things that keep us from having an age war? Well, we have people in our families that are different ages. So we have some recognition of what their needs might be, and older people are in the family and we love them, right? And so that would keep us from going to war, keep young people from going to war with the older people in theory. And then also there's like the self-interest of aging, because although people probably don't recognize it for a while, until, I'm going to say until they turn 50, but they are someday going to be old if they're lucky. So in that sense, there's self-interest at play as well, and so you don't want to go to war against older people if you're going to be one of them someday, right? So those are some things that keep us from having an age war. However, you know, things can go wrong so that the younger population does not have the same resources that the older populations had. And so the ability to maybe own a house, which is thought to be stabilizing for people. In the United States, the home ownership, it varies depending on where you are, but in my state, for example, it's kind of out of reach for the younger population, and they might have, you know, not just one job, but a couple of jobs, and their university tuition is very high. And so the older population that's educated can't really necessarily understand their plight, because the inflation in the college tuition costs and that sort of thing. So those types of things make it out of reach for younger people. We also have a healthcare crisis that a lot of the other developed countries have more of a handle on, and the United States, some people are trying to have a handle on it, and others are not. So that has, we have some legislation as of 2010, which allowed for young people to remain on their parents' insurance until they're 26 years old. And interestingly, I have a 25-year-old, and you know, just now getting to that point where they're going to kind of fall off a cliff, although happen to get a job that does pay well and has health insurance. So that's one of them. The other one, we still don't know what's going to happen when she gets to that age. But there was something kind of set up, but then there is like a cliff to fall off of, and then we might end up having, and this is the time to start seeing it, that we would have people 26 and up to 30 or whatever that have trouble affording health insurance. And so what does that mean? The US actually had a decline in life expectancy prior to the pandemic, which, you know, what was that about? Part of it had to do with our poor healthcare system and the inequality that goes on there. But also we have a lot of suicides. And so that is an indicator that things are going wrong when there's just an enormous amount of suicide. And so the fact that there was enough to make our life expectancy go down, which is not what you would expect for, you know, a developing country or a developed country. So so that is, you know, something we have to take recognition of, that you know, things are not well, and that's one of the indicators. On the other hand, we also have the young cohort saying like no to things. You know, like I don't know if it has to do with their organization based on social media contact and things like that. But you know, just saying like no to sexual harassment, and so there was the Me Too movement and things like that. And so some of the things that maybe were, you know, frowned upon, but yet were still happening. The younger population, we're not putting up with that anymore, kind of thing. So they do have some ability to shake things up, I would say. But in terms of our policies, we've got like the old age pension, like what you were talking about, you know. Is this something that's gonna go away? You know, we would expect that there would be the self-interest of keeping it going, but at the same time, it seems like it's benefiting people that already have things kind of nailed down and are doing okay financially, for example. So anyway, there's been a lot of talk about like insolvency of our system and things like that, which doesn't mean it's completely broke, but it does mean that they can't fund it at the way that they would need to fund it. It's only like fundable at 75% or something like that. So I personally don't like it when they talk about it like it's just completely dead. It's still there until a point in which the baby boom, you know, kind of like dies off and that sort of thing, and then it shouldn't have as much of a problem. But basically, will it be, there are things like, you know, increasing the age at retirement to 67, and that was done a long time ago, and it needs to be done a long time ago. And it should have been done a long time ago, and it kept being put off and that sort of thing. So also having the rich people contribute to the system, because it's the problem with regressive payroll tax and the cap on income for how much people end up paying into the system. So if you're well off, you know, you only pay a teeny tiny portion of your income. And so that could help the situation if they were to, you know, to decrease or to, make it so that the cap is larger. But that's not seeming to be happening.
2 minutes.
Okay, sure. So anyway, I think that, you know, it's interesting to look at other places and see what, you know, what potential for change there is. And part of that is just at, you know, just because of the age structure and changing age structure. So I think of, for example, Iran and Iraq, you know, they had the war for a long time, and it really killed a lot of people, especially men of, you know, military age and that sort of thing. So they had like kind of a section of emptiness in the age structure. And so the clerics do have a lot of control right now, but like those people are dying off, and then there would be this big empty space in the middle, and then the youth are really making up a huge portion of the population. So so that's something where possibly in the future things might change in terms of, you know, different philosophies of how things go with those types of countries. So these are just some thoughts for thinking about age and aging and demography as it relates to policy.
Thank you. Strong clapping helps to wake up, because some people are sleeping, so if we make noise, they're going to wake up. Our next speaker, already we mentioned South Africa 2 or 3 times, and we have someone from South Africa here, Valery Buinwi Ferim. No?
Yeah.
What am I waiting for?
For you to finish the introduction.
You make your own introduction.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
I thank you for accepting it.
Okay, thank you. When I got the invite, I thought it would be a round table discussion, typical of the quick tradition that we saw in the morning being presented by the president. But so I prepared a very informal discussion, nothing that formal, nothing that serious. And I'm going to just give a brief overview of leadership, or which translates into membership of political parties in South Africa. And leadership, for the most part, like I said, which is reflective of the membership, not in all cases, there are always exceptions, which we're going to see, have traditionally been along ideological lines. And those ideological lines influence race and ethnicity or identities. The main dominant party in South Africa is called the African National Congress. It has been in power since 1994. It came in as a liberation party, fighting the apartheid regime, and because it was a liberation party, it espoused lots of communist ideologies. The land shall belong to all who live in it, people shall govern, and so on and so forth. Its leadership is the top six of the parties. It's all, well, it's no white person, it's all black, one colored, I think. So it's still constructed or still exists along leftist stance. It still espouses a leftist stance, even though I haven't been in power since 1994. It kind of lost the last elections, lost in the sense that it did not have a majority of 50% and above. But it still has a plurality of votes as compared to other political parties. It's got 40%. I think the closest one out is 21%. So it's been tasked with the duty of forming a government, which they're currently doing now, forming a government of national unity, a coalition government, whichever way you want to call it. So it still espouses those populist ideologies, things like free education, or free education was there before, by 2017. The outgoing president announced free education for all university students that are below a certain economic threshold. So if your parents are poor, you qualify for free education at tertiary level. So it espouses things like free education, policies like the recent bill that was signed that called for national health insurance, which is still very shady, but the whole idea is to do away with private medical aid. So you can walk into any hospital that you find when you're sick, whether it's government or private, and you get cuts, and then you get medical attention. That's the dream of the national health insurance. Like I said, its voting has been dwindling since 1994, largely because of corruption and scandals, the numerous political scandals. So people have been largely dissatisfied, and which have paved the way, or which paved the way for the upsurge of numerous other political parties, some of which broke away from the African National Congress. The second most populous party in the country is called a Democratic Alliance, right? It's traditionally referred to and still today considered as a white party. White party in that its leadership is traditionally white. I think it's had only one black leader, who left under very dubious circumstances. I mean, there's been I won't say an exodus, but there's been a lot of black leaders who have left the party under guise of it not being representative of the ideals of a multiracial South Africa, or the ideals that it catered for the rights of mostly white people. So in the last elections, it had 21% of the votes, and like I said, it's still seen as a predominantly predominantly white party, even though they have a large following of black middle class. The former president used to refer to them as the educated blacks. They are the ones who are joining the middle class, rising middle class, who are joining the Democratic Alliance for the most part. So it still espouses ideologies which are market-friendly or business-friendly, such as ownership of private property and all whatnot. And then you have very radical economic formations, I'm just going to discuss two of them. One of them is called the Economic Freedom Fighters. So they are looking for a radical, they call themselves, that they're clamoring for radical economic transformation, black ownership of property, expropriation of land without compensation. I'm sure those of you who are familiar with South African politics will know that about 70% of the land is still owned by about 10% of the population, of the minority population. They are calling for nationalization of mines, these far left policies, and open borders. Very interestingly, Pan-Africanism, they're calling for open borders, that Africa should be one. So that is the Economic Freedom Fighters, and their leadership is exclusively black. Then recently, about 5 months ago, somewhere there's more or less a breakaway party that became very famous in the last elections, called the Umkhonto we Sizwe Party. Short is abbreviated as MK. It was formed by the former president of the country, who left the ruling African National Congress Party, and it got about 14% of votes in the last elections. Its leadership is also predominantly black actually. It's calling for way more radical things than the Economic Freedom Fighters, to the point of clamoring for a change of the constitution from South Africa is a constitutional republic, constitutional democracy. Is calling for a parliamentary system where the laws can be changed at the whims and caprices of the majority. That's as opposed to a judicial system of government. And there have been talks about that its popularity, which was largely centralized in one province, because they also got votes in other provinces, was as a result of what some analysts or commentators have called Zulu nationalism, that the former president, because he's a Zulu, that he appealed to the sentiments of Zulus in the country. So that is kind of seeing a return of ethnic politics in South Africa, something which is well ahead of, is very common across the African continent in many events. So we are still to see how that develops and how their ideology, or how their base, how their ideologies appeal to the large majority of South Africans. But like I said, they only got 14% of the vote. You also have a small far-right party that is there for the advancement or the promotion and protection of the rights of the minority white. It's called the Freedom Front Plus. I think at about 3% of the last elections. There is a territory in South Africa called Orania. I don't know if you know about it. It's an Afrikaner-only territory. They don't pay rates, they don't pay taxes, they have their own currency, they have their own municipal services. So the Freedom Front Plus is pushing for the constitutional recognition of Orania in South Africa. So, like I said, it's a party that has been formed or was formed for the promotion and protection of the rights of the minority white people.
2 minutes?
And yeah, in conclusion, I'll just say that I have noticed that people don't normally fight for ideologies. They don't fight for all these isms. They fight for the right to secure an economic sustenance for themselves and for their perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think India was mentioned many times.
Thank you very
So our next speaker is from India. Let me try your name. Sriparna Dutta.
Oh, that's really correct.
That's
That's
correct.
correct.
It looks like Greek, that's why.
Oh.
Maybe,
I never knew that.
Maybe from Alexander the Great.
Actually,
something
like whenever people ask me what my name is, like when I'm out of India, I shorten it and I say Shri. I leave out the Parna part because people really struggle with that, and I focus only on the first part, Shri. So that makes people very comfortable, like, okay,
Shri.
fine. They're comfortable with Shri, so am I.
The only thing is that rhymes with shrink, that's the problem. But that's a different story.
Thank you very much for giving me this
10 minutes, did I say that? 10 minutes, yeah.
10 minutes, yes. So I'm Sriparna Dutta and I am a teacher of English literature. And I come from India, precisely the state of West Bengal, and accurately from this place called Calcutta. So what I'll do today is I'll just kind of through a few slides show you how the political map of West Bengal has been gradually changing. Alright, so like I have started from 2004. When you see the map, it was dominated by the Communist Party of India. The state was quite red. And then 2009, you find red and green. And when you come to 2014, the red is almost vanishing. And the green, that is, I'm sure you've heard of the Trinamool Congress and Mamata Banerjee. She is really quite a name these days. She was even thought to be a prime ministerial candidate for the third front. So that green color is now dominating West Bengal. Now this is the condition of the state as far as the Lok Sabha polls is concerned. And if we go at the Rajya Sabha, we find the same thing. That is the red gradually shifting to green to a point where we now only have the green. We recently had the Lok Sabha polls, and again it was a major sweep for the Trinamool Congress, the color green. Now the question is, that I would like to say is why exactly this has happened. Since 2011, we find the green, that is the Trinamool Congress, dominating the state of West Bengal. For 34 years, there we had this communist regime for 34 years. So what happened? That since 2011, right till this point of time, we have the green color dominating the map of West Bengal. Now, before I go into the what happened, I would like to say one reason why the Communist Party was voted out of favor is because of terrible unemployment situation in West Bengal. I guess that is a worldwide scenario, but then West Bengal, the unemployment really heightened. And 2011, people really expected that with the signing in of the Trinamool Congress, there will be a change in situation. Now for certain demographical facts, like India has a population of 1.417 billion, out of which West Bengal, the state has a population of 91.3 million. And out of this 91.3 million, West Bengal, 27 million constitute the youth. That is around 29% of the population is youth. But the question is, has the situation changed? What about the employment status in India, in West Bengal rather? It is still very high. We really don't have much of employment, and if you read latest surveys on West Bengal, youth, they are really leaving the state, going to other states, some moving out of the country in search of an occupation. So if nothing has changed, the reason why the red color, the left, the Communist Party was voted out and nothing has changed in West Bengal, then why do we still have the green dominating the country, dominating the state? I guess the answer lies in all these schemes that we have in West Bengal. I myself wasn't aware of all these schemes until I was preparing for this paper. I was so unaware that all these existed. And if you look at the schemes, you have different schemes, and I have kind of classified them: education, employment, environment, women-centric, housing, health, culture, and just basic support. Now, the fact is, what I would like to say is that schemes, policies, they are meant to do good to a state. They are meant to do good for the people of the state. But I feel what is happening here is something very different. Like all these schemes that we have, it's kind of leading to the youth accepting that what is happening in the state is absolutely fine. For example, there is a scheme called, it's for the unemployed people, unemployed youth, like they don't have any job, so they are given certain money every month. Okay? So this really brings to the fore the question, the schemes that we have, are they kind of making the youth in West Bengal lazy? They are so getting used to what they have. They aren't really questioning the type of government that we have in the state. It is not really good for the growth of a state. Policies are fine. Policies should affect people in a very positive manner. And let me say, we do have some very fantastic policies in West Bengal. Especially there is a policy called Kanya Shri. Kanya means girl, promoting the education of a girl. In fact, Kanya Shri in 2017 was awarded by UN as for public service. It was awarded in 2017 by the United Nations for its public service, promoting the education of the girl child. So that is something very good. But then again, when you are kind of giving the youth money because they are unemployed, that really speaks that you are not allowing the youth to think. So the questions that I have raised here, or the questions that come to mind, is like, government politics should be effective. But what I feel is there is a kind of issue between effective politics and effective politics. So what is happening in West Bengal at present is that the youth, they are kind of getting used to a system where they believe that my state is paying me this money and I am getting a certain, just few basic necessities of life. So maybe I'm happy with this. So I'm not really into changing the government, because if a new government is sworn in, nothing will happen in terms of employment perhaps, but then the benefit that I'm receiving now in terms of money might change. So, like as I said, youth constitute 29% of West Bengal. So if the youth is thinking like this way, I think the time has come for the state to question the policies that it is offering to the people. It might sound that it's fine, like you have this huge array of policies, it's so good for the people. It's good. The policies that you have for the old age, the policies that you have for the child. There is a policy where a child who has a heart disease is given free treatment. This is very good. There is again a policy where the old people, they get a pension. That again is good. But then I guess the global concern is with the youth. As our last speaker, she said that there is this concern with youth suicide. That is really alarmingly on the rise. So with this kind of an attitude that is there now in West Bengal, so we really need to question what exactly is the youth thinking, how we can change this mindset of the youth into making them radical thinkers, into making them someone who participates in bringing in an effective government rather than an effective government. So this is what I really have to say, and this is what I feel is happening in my state. I'm very happy with some policies, but I feel time has come for introspection regarding certain policies.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker is from Czech Republic, and her name is Martina Rašticová. So as you see, we have 3 males, 3 females. Not happened by accident, but still I can be proud of it. I can say I did it, but I did not.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for a great introduction. I bet you are becoming tired now, right, after 5 presentations. So I promise I'll be fast and hopefully effective. Okay, so my name is Martina Rašticová and I'm coming from Mendel University in Brno, the Czech Republic. Brno is actually the second biggest city in the country, and it's a great location because 2 hours from Brno is Vienna, 2 hours from Brno is Prague, 2 hours from Brno is also Bratislava. So I believe that it's a great place to live and work, and you are welcome to visit it one day. Okay, so today I would like to speak about digitalization and demographic shifts, and especially what are the political strategies for integrating older workers. I was listening to the presenters before carefully, and I really like them. I would like to follow what Mr. Professor or Director Flores said, that many of the populations are shrinking. In Europe, it's the case, and also the Czech Republic is basically shrinking, unfortunately, even though the situation is now somehow stabilized. So what we are now mostly focusing on are definitely the older population, right? I have to admit that I do not belong to the people who are, let's say, members of the fan club saying that we are aging, we are following the aging panic. I'm not, okay? I am not a member of this fan club. I actually believe that aging in general is the best what has happened to humankind. And we were praying for that for thousands of years. Right? Many people, our ancestors, wanted to live longer. And now, look at that. We are at that stage, and the age is increasing, right? So most probably we will enjoy not only our grandchildren, but also our great-grandchildren. And now we can also enjoy our time with our grandparents. So in general, I think it's exciting, and I'm really happy to live in these times, and I'm not so much worried about the aging population, even though I understand that it's a challenge. It's something what is completely new, something what we now need to really face. But we are optimistic, and we believe we can find some strategies, either political or some other strategies, which will help us to age and to still have our happier lives. Okay, so it's not only about aging. The Europe, the Western countries, and not even those countries, but all over the world, we are basically facing two major revolutions. The first one is the demographic revolution for sure, and the other one is the revolution of digitalization. Digitalization is among us. It's everywhere. And it's changing, and it's actually accelerating with a huge and rapid speed, especially when they introduce the AI to us, right? Everybody's playing with ChatGPT, and the changes are there for each and single week. I'm also trying to follow up ChatGPT, and it's not easy because it's changing every day almost, right? So digitalization is here. And I realized together with my colleagues, I work at Mendel University, and I'm also leading a research team, and we are focusing on aging population and how the aging population and digitalization, how they impact the labor market. So rapid digitalization presents opportunities and also challenges. We definitely agree with that. And it's the same with the significant demographic shift in Central Europe, particularly the aging population, right? So I'm speaking here about Central Europe because that's where I'm coming from, but it's not only valid for only the Central Europe. So the importance of integrating older workers for economic and social equity is absolutely crucial. Okay, so what's the aging population? I have already mentioned that. What is also important is this number. So there are some projections that the people who are aged 65 plus will increase up to 2050 to 30% in European Union, right? So it's really an unprecedented situation. And plus, not even this, but we have the digitalization, which makes it a bit more complicated, I guess. So what actually is the biggest challenge in those countries is how we can keep these older people at the labor market, and at the same time they are not suffering and we are getting the win-win-win situation, right? I'm doing research, actually I have been doing research about older workers for years, and honestly we learned that the day when people retire means the biggest change in their life. It's the biggest change for many of them in their life, right? And not always it's a positive change. Not even for older workers, the retirement is a positive change, right? Many of them would like to stay at the labor market longer, if possible. So that's actually where we can meet the expectations and also the reality of the labor market. Okay. I will speak about this more detail in my presentation later on today. So today, now as it was the question of this roundtable, or the topic of the roundtable are the strategies, right? So you understand probably my perspective that we are trying to focus and to combine the digitalization and aging population and how these two trends meet in the labor market, right? So there are certain strategies already applied in the countries how to help people remain only 3 minutes in the labor market. You see that first and foremost it's about education and so-called lifelong learning, right? So definitely it's also the question about Central Europe. Incentive for employers, some tax breaks or subsidies, and legislative measures, right? Anti-discrimination policies, flexible working conditions. We have certain policies already applied, and you see here the particular projects. I have also compared to the Western Europe, because we are also cooperating closely with Germany and Netherlands. They are a bit in front of us. And again, as you see here, lifelong learning. Lifelong learning, that's the major issue in these countries. Okay, but I will switch the slide because, okay, so here are the recommendations and conclusions. So again, lifelong learning, strengthen the public-private partnership. That's also very important, big topic for discussion maybe. And legislative frameworks. We can do anything with our legislation. Okay, let's be honest about that. However, within my 2 minutes, I would like to let you a bit more about my project. I am a coordinator, the main chair of this post-action DigiNet. I mean, you might be familiar with these post-actions, but these are pretty huge networks. Actually, in our post-action, we currently are cooperating with 32 countries, and we have over 300 participants. You are actually also welcome to join us. Wherever you come from, that's fine. You might join us as an online participant. Okay, and as you see there, within our post-action, we are focusing on the digital revolution and demographic revolution. And here is the main mission of the DigiNet. You see that we are focusing on social inequalities, organizational age culture, work and health connection to the older workers, policy and practice, and media influence. So if you want to learn more about it, you are welcome to visit our website, diginet.eu. Okay, so that's all for me, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So a lot of communism, a lot of socialism, a lot of aging, a lot of health. When we were students at the university, student movements in the 1970s, I would say, I'm cynical, so don't take whatever I say seriously. First of all, let's start with the round table. The round table is a conceptuality. It's not a physical concept. Because someone came to me once and said, upset, said, you promised that we'll have a round table, and the table are not round. I said, nothing is round, even they are not round. It was amazing. Now, when we were young and innocent, and whatever you want to call it, so we had two choices. I said, the way that you pose the problem is choosing between being young, I'm translating, health, I wrote out, so I'm healthy, young, beautiful, and socialist. And the other choice was to be old, sick, angry, and capitalist. What would you prefer? I think some of the suggestions like choosing between the two options, but anyway, that's now it's your time. Anybody wants to? Is it true that the food is burned and we ordered pizza? Okay. You don't talk again. No, don't give me asking a question. Talk. No, someone else. Okay, I get it. Yeah. You, what, to me? No, not question. First, let's take first. Out of politeness, the people that they didn't speak.
Yes, Jose Antonio Ortega from the University of Salamanca. When you're talking about the demographics and politics, it came to me the classic article 1986 by Ashley Cole, where he warned about the problems that having a higher proportion of people in their old age, they will have their own interests in voting, and that might pose risks, particularly for the youth. And I want to give you some examples of how this is true, just coming from Spain last year. Okay? So, for instance, the inflation hit very hard last year. Well, what was the government's decision when this came? Well, everybody was concerned. Actually, the decision was to raise the wage, I mean not the wage, the pension, just for pensioners, 8%. Of course, pensioners are a big share of the population, so this means a big cost. What was going on in the private sector? Wages were actually going down. So this means that you will need to get a social contribution from workers that is huge. And this goes against all these policies that they say, yeah, we want more fertility, or we want, okay, youth, another decision that probably is populist and might have the reverse consequence that was being searched. Raising the minimum wage. Okay. That was also a political decision. It was raised by 40%. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, the problem is that you have 30% youth unemployment. So the youth cannot get a job. And if you raise the minimum wage, that will be worse. So those are just two things. On the other hand, I want to take a positive perspective. Another decision that was taken was public funding of education for children from the age of 1. Okay, I believe that is actually a good one. Okay, and that actually is something that can be afforded because precisely there's very few children, so you can afford it. But the other one actually is causing probably lots of problems that were unintended.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next, yeah.
Thank you, Gregory. I am Ahmed Shafiqul Huque from McMaster University in Canada. I apologize for missing some of the presentations because I just arrived an hour ago.
From Canada?
From Canada.
From the airport?
From the airport, yeah.
So I have done this trip so many times. I was 11 years there.
Oh, okay.
Coming back and forth.
Yeah, I'm not as strong as you are. So
I said I was. Now I don't do it. I'm old now.
That's good to know because I heard very encouraging things about the future of old people from Professor Rašticová's presentation. There are many good things to happen to us. We'll get retrained, put back into the job market. So my first query, or what I would like to know, is you need a strong corresponding healthcare system if you want older people to work longer. And if that part is not considered, then it becomes very difficult to train older people. And you're right, it's the trend across the world. In Canada we have the same problem. My daughter keeps on telling us, you people are eating up all our pensions, so we have nothing. when you're gone. So I would like to know a little bit more about how the health system will support it. And I have a couple of small questions for
The question will be answered at the end, okay? So we'll give you opportunity. So,
Okay.
yeah, keep a note on that if we have time. Okay.
Sriparna, I can pronounce your name. We speak the same language. So, one question is, who writes the West Bengal Development Report? Is it the government itself? Okay, so that answers my question. And that's why I would like to know if there are good policies, why are people leaving the state? And sometimes policies may be good, but they're not implemented properly, so good policies do not necessarily bring good results. So I will look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wants to make a comment, question, whatever? That's your last opportunity. Hungry? Hungry for food, not hungry for thought? No, no. I want to see if someone else other than the speaker wants to talk. No, that's your opportunity? No, okay. No, he asked for it.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Men come first.
You're right, okay.
Because of equality or nothing else.
He was
It's
asking
a
me
question to the
Look, he wants to ask a
Indian
question.
friend, Sri, if I may.
But he wants to ask a question, not to respond to a question.
I noticed that this is to be expected. You start to have an increase in the last elections, of course, of BJP. How would you explain this increase of BJP according to your, let us say, not theory, but your suggestions about the youth? Has BJP had a different policy which became more attractive to the youngsters? What would you say?
No, he's not gonna say, I'm the chair. I have it. Okay, are there any other questions? No. She has to answer because she was asked first.
Thank
Okay.
you, now I got you, thank you. Okay, so thanks for the question. So it was about the healthcare system and how it will be, let's say, maintained and how it will help to increase working life. That's a great question, and I mean, there are lots of levels. First of all, we need to admit that people are aging in general. Yeah, the age is prolonged in general. If we count an average of the population, correct, we are prolonging the longevity, let's say. However, it's at the same time, and you are absolutely right, it does not prolong, or the longevity is not prolonged for everybody. There are groups of people, and their lives are even, the length is decreasing, right? So I have heard that if you sit on a metro in London downtown, and you are heading out of the town, with each stop, your life longevity decreases with 3 months. Yeah, that's true. So in general, yes, we are the average longevity is increasing, let's say. However, it is not true for everybody. So this is the first one. And then we also try to push the strategy, not the strategy, one fits for all. Yeah, so this is another point. So we cannot have policies which are only one policy which is fitting for all. This is definitely for sure. On the other hand, we need to also look on the organizational level, right? So we have to go hand in hand. If we try to extend the working lives, we need to work also with so-called age management. So this is some management applied on the organizational level. And here it's about finding the best way for the employer and also for the employees. So they are now offering them flexible working times, or short working times, or some home offices, right, or different types of working. So this is probably the way how we can maintain and how we can keep people working long.
Okay, thank you very much. I made a mistake before because I forgot about Sonia. If she can the question.
I was just going to respond to Jose, right? Just when you were talking about the rise in the pension, while everyone else's benefits were not at all increasing. Yeah, in the United States we have automatic cost of living adjustments of the pension, but if you're a young person that is on welfare or something like that, it doesn't actually have a cost of living adjustment at all. And so, like, the rise in the retirees' pension will go unnoticed. They don't have to go through like a protest or anything like that. It'll just go unnoticed, it's silent. But then, you know, on the other hand, the young people that are struggling to just feed their children or whatever, they don't get anything that increases, yeah.
You are the last.
So in response to your question, the one thing I would like to say is, like, there are multiple policies in the state of West Bengal. They cater to many areas like health, education, art, and art and culture, and many more. I just don't remember the names now because there are so many. But then what I really wanted to say is that policies do get implemented in West Bengal, but what youth looks for is employment. If we look at the state of West Bengal, we really don't see things getting generated in terms of employment. Alright, so industry is not coming, and without industry, you really cannot expect employment to go on the rise. So what you're offering to the people of West Bengal, it's okay. You're giving them free education, you're giving them free healthcare, you're taking care of the old. That is really very nice. But then what about the drain that has been going on? The youth leaving the state. I'm going to quote, it's a bit personal, like it's what my mom said, like West Bengal is turning into one big old age home. Because children, they're leaving the state in search of employment in other states, and then again out of the state, as I've said. But what West Bengal really needs now is industry, a rise in employment, and in a state where 29% of the population is youth, you can really understand what it can do to elections, how it can affect the elections. So it's really a wonder, like when Mamata government, the Trinamool Congress government, was sworn in 2011, defeating the 34 years regime of the Communist Party, people of Bengal, they were really looking for some grand changes, with employment being number one. But the last decade has shown 2011 to 2024. We have seen the graph. Everything is fine, like, all right, the schemes are good, but no one is questioning the employment. The youth should question it, not oldies like me. It should come from the youth. So why isn't the youth questioning it? Why isn't there a change in the political scenario? We are going to face state elections again in 2026. What happened this time in 2024, the Lok Sabha, the BJP thought it's really going to cut an inroad into West Bengal, but that didn't happen. It's still very green, still very Trinamool. Then why? What exactly is the youth thinking now? So, and some of the policies that we have is, I don't want to sound rude, but then it's you are giving the youth who don't have employment money. Why are you giving them that? Give them the job, let them earn, let them not get it from you. Just don't give them something, let them earn it. So that is what I feel about the condition in West Bengal now, because I teach a class where my students, they range from 18 to 22. And I ask them, what exactly do you expect? And the first question, the first answer they say is, after graduating, I'm going to move out of West Bengal. Because West Bengal is the land where there is no opportunity, you cannot grow. Now that is not for the reason we are teaching them to leave the state. So, but then this is the ugly truth. You really don't have the employment that you need in the state. So how can you keep them back? And so coming to your question, like 2019, BJP, the single majority party, got 303 seats. But this time, 240 seats. So that was a major defeat for the BJP government. Now BJP, if you look at the BJP government, the prime agenda, the main thing that is on their priority list, it's what we in Bengali we call, or what the Indians would say, it's called Hindutva. Okay, they play on the religion card too much. That was very fine for the people. They were happy with it for a few years. But again, what I'm talking about West Bengal is again true to the whole country. You cannot really kind of give people food about religion, talk to them about religion and not general employment. The people will not accept it. Just as a point of reference, we all know Ram Janmabhoomi, alright, Ayodhya, the Babri Masjid, we all know that. The temple of Lord Ram was built with a lot of fanfare. People around the world, they attended this inauguration of temple. It's very sad to say, BJP lost in that state. So what does it say about what the people are thinking in India? So, but then again, the BJP has formed the government, but then it's not also but not as a single majority party. Got only 240 seats. When in 2019 it was 303. And BJP also thought it was going to get a major sweep in West Bengal. They did not get it. And Uttar Pradesh was a major disappointment for BJP this time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say Olga will give you more information if you want, but we very rarely, we do, but we don't advertise it, collaborate with Greek universities, but we don't advertise it, it's our secret. But in October, and a lot of the presentations here, the interventions, they relate to that. In 19th of October, in Crete, in Heraklion, in collaboration with the Greek Regional Society and the European University, the University of Western Macedonia, we and us, we organize the English. I'm a member of this association for many, many years, but they want to do it in Greek only. So I persuaded them last time before COVID once, and now we at the Athens Institute has the responsibility to organize the English, and they have a lot of students there. You know, they have a lot of students because they're university. It's in October in Greek. You don't have to come. It's online if you want. So it is. So Olga will invite you if you want to be part of the program. Of course, you are more than welcome to come. And since you paid this predatory fee, very expensively, I know, but that's the only way that we can do this job here, because we have to pay all the slaves that you can see around. They don't work for free, they want to eat, they want to sleep, they want to have their own families, you know, it's called salaries and wages. So you don't have to pay another fee. So if you want to come, you have to pay all your expenses, but you can present online. And what they do actually, they have, they're gonna publish proceedings. And usually what they want is, in English, 1,500 words without the tables, and you get a public, and of course you can use the paper to publish it somewhere. So they want an extended abstract. I'm saying that because it's very important for the Athens Institute to try to internationalize what's going on in Greek universities, because they are doing not a very good job, and we would like to play a role in that. I don't want to say bad job. Okay, now we have lunch. I don't know what food we have. Usually I don't do it, but you can go, and I'm gonna be there, and of course Olga will be here, because you mentioned something about if you want to join your project. We like these ideas, with or without money, usually without money, and we can get involved, especially with our demography. Thank you very much for being here.